Hi, I'm Nikki Slowey.
And I'm Lisa Gallagher.
And we welcome you to this special event today. So over the course of the next 50 minutes, we will be announcing Scotland's top 10 flexible employers. We've also got some really lovely stories to share from people who work flexibly and the difference it makes to their lives. We've also got some brilliant keynote speakers. We've got Professor Cary and we've got Yaz Grigolunas. So we don't need to tell you, it's been one heck of a ride over the last year, but we hope you can sit back, grab a cuppa and enjoy a bit of positivity this afternoon. We actually really swithered about holding these awards at all. We worried that it seemed a bit frivolous when there was just so much hardship going around. We also wondered, would employers enter with everything else that was going on? But at the same time, it was flexibility, understanding and support from employers that was making such a huge difference to so many people's lives during these tough times. Not only that, but during the pandemic, many organisations absolutely relied on flexibility in order to survive. So in the end, we decided to begin our search for Scotland's most flexible employers. That was last autumn, and we needn't have worries about employers entering. In fact, we were blown away, not only by the quantity of entries, but by the quality of entries that we received. All kinds of organisations, big, small, private, public, third sector organisations came forward to tell us their stories and to vie for their place in Scotland's top 10. So there we were, Lisa and I, back in January at home with all our kids running around the place, and we were reading these incredible stories about different approaches that employers were taking to flexible working. And we felt real hope for Scotland and beyond for a more flexible future for everyone. Now, our latest research tells us that over half of Scottish workers, around 55% of people, say that they're considering requesting flexibility in the future. And it isn't one-sided. When we spoke to employers, 76% of those surveyed said that flexibility had helped their business survive that first wave of the pandemic. So with such interest and demand in flexible working, there could not be a better time to be named as one of Scotland's most flexible employers. It would be an accolade to be proud of. So as we come off the crisis footing and we look to the future, now is the time for employers to embed flexible working properly in a way that will genuinely benefit their people and their business for years to come, forever. If you follow our socials, you will know that our current campaign is about being flex for life. Why go back to our old ways of working? Let's truly embrace flexible working. Let's use the power of flexibility to help us rebuild our lives, our businesses and our economy. Now, of course, it wasn't just Lisa and I poring over the entries. We had the most incredible judging panel, a really diverse mix of leaders who gave their time and their energy and enthusiasm, who narrowed down the entries with great deliberation and eventually selected those outstanding top 10 employers. A nicer and smarter bunch of judges you couldn't meet. So thanks so much, guys. Also, thanks to our sponsors who have recorded some little messages which we'll hear later on. Lisa and I have been asked many times why we set up Flexibility Works. Well, beyond our own experiences of a lack of flexible working, our why is because we really care about people. We know that flexible working improves lives, and we understand that empowering people benefits business. We wanted to provide a bridge between people and business to unlock the power of flexible working to benefit all. And never before has there been a better time to adopt a more human approach to work, to really understand the people that you work with. Employers should never underestimate the difference even a small amount of flexibility makes to people's lives. And as all switched-on employers know, when you treat people like adults, you give them some control and autonomy, and you trust them to get the job done, what you get back in terms of commitment, discretionary effort is huge. So with that in mind, we felt we could not hold this event without introducing you to some people from a variety of different organisations for whom flexible working has made a really big difference to their lives.
Why do you work flexibly?
I work flexibly because I'm a single mum. I have children aged 11 and 12. My 12-year-old has autism, and working flexibly gives me a bit more time and energy to be able to deal with their needs.
What flexibility do you have?
I think I have all the flexibility that I need to do my job. Obviously, I'm working from home just now, but my employer's message to me is that they trust me 100% to do my job wherever and whenever I need to work around my family. They've also said if I needed extra support this year, for example, to use the government furlough scheme, that would have been accessible to me as well.
What difference has this made to your life?
This year it's made a huge difference to my life. We've had a really busy year, like everybody. We had to move flat really quickly in April. My son was ill and in hospital over the summer, and without flexible and supportive employers, I think like many women, I may well have struggled to stay within the workforce this year, and I would have lost the financial independence and the security that goes with that.
What difference it has made to you as an employee?
As an employee, I think flexible working has made a big difference to me. I can work efficiently because I can work in the best way that suits me. For example, as an introvert, I work quite well from home because I can focus, but I can still stay in touch with my team through technologies like Zoom.
I work flexibly to allow me, as well as working as a finance manager for CopyLab, to teach yoga and Pilates. And by combining the two, it gives me a better work-life balance. I don't want to teach yoga full-time. I enjoy it, but it's not something that I want to do the whole time, and I enjoy working in finance, and CopyLab allows me to combine the two. I work flexibly in two different ways. I, first of all, work part-time, so I work on average 3 days a week. And then secondly, I work variable hours. So I work more hours at the beginning of the month and the last couple of days when there's billing to be done, when it's the month-end process. And then I work less hours when it's the middle of the month and it's normally a bit quieter. It works both ways. We've done a bit of experimenting to find the right balance that works for both me and for CopyLab. It works really well.
Personally, I think Scottish Water's approach to flexible working allows me to have that time with my daughter Layla in the morning, getting her ready, fed, motivated and off to school in the morning, so that I don't miss that important part of her life, and we can balance that responsibility between myself and my wife. I get to enjoy that moment when I can pick her up from school, when she runs towards me with her arms open, and I'd never have got to see that if I'd been in an office or out at site working 9 till 5. We did have a time when Layla was in hospital for open heart surgery, and that was months of worry in our lives, and that flexible working approach meant I could be there at the hospital for her and with her any time during the day and night, and could continue to work regardless of where we were. We stayed through at the hospital, and to be honest, it was a welcome distraction to be able to work away while we were through there. Obviously at the moment we're in a really unique situation with a global pandemic, and being able to do some homeschooling with the wee one has been fantastic when it was needed. It was a brilliant experience for the most part, but having the flexibility to fit meetings around a 6-year-old was certainly an interesting thing to do, and a godsend actually.
I work a 4-day week. I work Tuesday to Fridays. In terms of the reason for why I chose to work a 4-day week from when I joined, two primary reasons. One was I've got 2 young kids and another on the way, so to spend time with them, and the other was so I could volunteer at my local church. In terms of the difference that being able to work flexibly has made to my life, it's probably predominantly one of balance. My kids are only going to be young once, and being able to work flexibly and part-time really means that I can spend good time with them while they're young. Something that has struck me at Hyman's in particular is just the number of people who work flexibly and work part-time is definitely a cultural thing. And specifically, there's quite a few men and people at senior positions that work in that way.
Hi, I'm Charlotte.
And I'm Pip, and we work for the flexible Cairngorms National Park Authority.
We live in the amazing Cairngorms National Park, which is beautiful and remote, and it has its challenges because there's been many times when neither of us have managed to get into work because of all the snow.
We also have children of various ages with different needs and different school bus pickup times. Childcare is not always easy to find. The organisation's always made provision for blended home and office working, even long before COVID, which allows us to be home in time for the school bus, and work hours to suit across the whole week. So I may work in an evening, but then have time off in the day to do this. Flexible working allows us to live full lives and get the perfect home-work-life balance.
Meaning we can plan our time to be more efficient and more productive, which makes everybody happier, including these.
I first applied for flexible working 7 years ago by taking a Friday off. This helps me with childcare responsibilities, as we don't have that on a Friday, and helps with doing the drop-offs and pick-ups for school and nursery. This has been life-changing, as without this flexibility I wouldn't be in employment and I wouldn't have a good work-life family balance. This flexibility enables me to carry out my role as a housing officer with less stress and worry, which then enables me not to actually take that worry and stress back home to my family. Management, everyone has been very supportive, even during these difficult changing times with COVID and with schools in, schools out and so forth. The management have been absolutely great and I really can't fault it. So in general, without flexible working, in a way I'd be lost, and it's made a massive difference to my family life.
What lovely examples of the difference flexible working makes, how it improves your health, well-being and quality of life. And it also reaffirms what we tell employers all the time, how most people are only looking for small changes to where, when and how long they work. And yet the difference this can make for people is massive. Not only that, but you know, listening to these stories, that these guys are going to be more engaged as employees. And in these tough times, as businesses rebuild post-pandemic, surely having committed and motivated employees is critical. I'm now delighted to introduce our speaker, Yaz Grigolunas. Yaz is CEO and co-founder of the world's biggest garage sale. All the way from Brisbane, Australia, Yaz is one cool woman. In fact, Yaz describes herself as a firstborn child with energy to burn. She passionately believes that anyone can do anything when there's a creative approach. And for her, effort plus execution means evolution. Yaz is an advocate of flexible working and will share her journey into the world of flex with us. She will also share details of another journey, a year-long adventure in 2015, when she, with her family, took off in a motorhome around Australia while working fully flexibly.
Hi, I'm Yaz Grigolunas, the CEO and co-founder of the world's biggest garage sale. But I'm not here today to talk to you about my business. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land that I stand and present here today, the Yugara and Turrbal people, and I would like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I also want to say thank you to the team at Flexibility Works for making this possible. How ironic that I'm presenting here all the way from down under to you today about flexible work. In a way, it's flexible in its own right. I believe it's around midnight here in Australia. And I don't tell you that as a flying up the flagpole way of saying that we get our work done late at night over here in Australia. It's really a demonstration of outcomes, not hours. And that's something that I want you to plant as a seed today. Outcomes, not hours. What does that mean? Well, look, I've had a really interesting journey with flexibility over the years, dating back to around 2006 when I had my first child. My husband and I decided to have children. I was always the one that loved working more than my husband did. I absolutely adored working. And while he worked full-time also, I had less desire to stay at home with children, and he had a higher level of desire around that specific role. And so we always joked about me wanting to go back to work, and effectively that's what occurred. Our daughter was a great sleeper. I know, sorry about that for those parents who have struggled. But look, as someone that slept for 20 hours a day, and she did on 4-hour sleep cycles for what I think was the first 4 months of her life, it enabled me to have a bit of clear headspace around how do I get some work done while she's sitting there idle, sleeping. And so I worked for an amazing employer. I picked up the phone and I said, hey, I'd like to continue working. How do we make this work? And together with a couple of ingredients that were really crucial at the time, we were able to design a fully flexible role that allowed me to pretty much come and go as I pleased within the business. I had some existing trust, and that's one of my favourite words, trust. The other T word that's really vital is transparency. And those were really important words back in 2006 that began to continue to evolve my desire and strong commitment to ensuring flexible work would always be a part of the way I work. And so as the years passed, we had 2 children, we continued to work flexibly. My husband and I started to do days on and days off, and on the days I wanted to go into the office, he would work from home. And we started to see both for us both, this really successful integrated way of working, and our friends were puzzled by it because they didn't have that access or that capability at the time. Things have changed with COVID, and I quite have liked the fact that it's helped us take the blinkers off and see broader, the breadth of brilliance and the opportunity available, where flexible work is not just this tokenism, given to women to make them feel better about coming back into the workplace. It is a really valuable and viable tool to attract the best talent, retain the best talent, and then to let them unleash their superpowers in your businesses or in businesses for themselves. So what does unleash look like? Picture this. Back in about 2015, my employer at the time, a different one to the earlier one, amazing employer. Again, great leaders, good trust and transparency. And I wanted to travel around Australia with my family, and they were desperate to go. And I didn't want to quit my job because I was really enjoying the work I was doing. So my employer said, look, why don't you work flexibly while you travel? And the family gap year was created in that very conversation. What it challenged me to believe is that I could work anywhere and any time and be able to produce immensely valuable results as an employee for an organisation. And so again, in a very agile way, we took this approach, and you'll see, hopefully they're sharing some pictures with you today. You'll see we took this beautiful approach of me being able to travel around Australia and have that quality time with my family, but still be able to have that strong desirability to want to work, able to be executed on. And so what did it look like? Well, we travelled around Australia for almost 600 days. I worked full-time and fully flexibly the entire way. And what it did was it really got me to see this breadth and capability of people's brilliance. When you trust someone and you have transparent relationships and communication and a true, authentic nature of connectedness, anything is possible. So we climbed mountains and rode our bikes, and we fished in crazy places, and we got to see 62,000 kilometres worth of this beautiful country and spend quite an amazing amount of time together as a family. And what did I learn? I learned very strongly that outcomes, not hours, was definitely the way of working successfully as an employer and an employee. And we now integrate that into our own business, ensuring that people can work flexibly and that they can have the opportunity to kind of dial up and dial down their own rate and velocity of working based on circumstances at the time. I'm a really strong believer in unlimited leave as well, and while we don't have that currently flowing through our organisation, it is something that we aspire to in the future, and I know leaders like Richard Branson do have unlimited leave in a number of their companies, allowing team members to really understand their own strengths and timings of what works and what doesn't work for their work time. And so I've said today that, I had a baby and I worked full-time and fully flexibly for years. I've said today that I was employed and we travelled Australia, working full-time and fully flexibly, also for years. So what's an extreme after that? Right now I'm living in a bit of a FIFO for LIFO mentality. And what that means is FIFO in our country, it means fly in, fly out. And mine's not really FIFO, it's a bit of DIFO really, drive in, fly out, or DIDO. And what it means is currently I actually live away from home on a Monday to Friday to work full-time on my business and full-time scaling an organisation that, you know, we have 20 plus staff now. My husband and I are actually co-founders. And I remember him saying to me, this is going to sound really extreme, but I remember him saying to me, Yaz, when you get home, I know you need to build this business, but when you get home late at night and the girls are, you know, on the way to bed and you come home and you disrupt them and they get all hyped and they get all excited, he said it really throws out the flow of the home. And so he said, can you just not come home during the week and can you just get your work done and then have that time together on the weekend that's more integrated and more connected as a family? I realise how crazy that sounds. Really crazy, right? Really crazy. And I guess what I want to plant in your minds today is that in each of our gardens, we like to grow different crops and we all like to sow different seeds. And I guess me sharing some of my extremes with you today, it's designed to get you to think a little bit crazier, a little bit bigger, a little bit broader, and a little bit bolder. Flexible work is not just school hours, job sharing, part-time, you know, compartmentalized working, or just working from home. It's actually a very strong, attractive capability and capacity of a business. More importantly, it's each of those things for people. And if you want to attract and retain the best employees who are going to give their all at all times to you and your business, perhaps it's as simple as trust, transparency, and a little bit of crazy. Go and ask someone in your team. It's my challenge to you today to go and ask someone in your team, someone that works for you, with you, near you, by you. What's your utopia look like when it comes to work-life blend? Not work-life balance, but work-life blend. Get them to think big. Get them to think even bigger. And plant the seed of possibility. Share some of the crazy of what other people have done in the world. And perhaps, just perhaps, you might find yourself designing a solution that becomes the new norm when it comes to flexible working, not just for your organisation, but to inspire others across the world. I thank you today and I hope you enjoyed seeing some of the adventures of my life as a full-time, fully flexible, FIFO Dido founder and employer and employee of the past that likes to take things to the extreme so that we can achieve extreme results with extreme trust, transparency, and connectivity. Thank you.
Wow, what a woman and what a story and what a blast of energy. Thank you so much, Yaz. And now we have the pleasure of introducing our Professor, Sir Cary Cooper. I don't think we could have found anyone more on point to talk to us today about the future of work and the importance of well-being and flexibility. Cary is a globally renowned psychologist, recognised as a world-leading expert on well-being. Amongst other things, he is the 50th anniversary Professor of Organisational Psychology and Health at Manchester Business School, University of Manchester, and he is President of the CIPD. He is Chair of the National Forum for Health and Wellbeing at Work and the author-editor of over 250 books in the field of occupational health, psychology, workplace wellbeing, women at work and occupational stress. As you can imagine, his expertise and insight has never been more in demand than now, so we're chuffed to bits that he was able to join us as part of this event today.
So I'd like to kick off by asking you, Cary, what is it that makes us thrive and be our best at work? And do you think that what we fundamentally want and need from work has shifted as a result of the pandemic?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things we want from work. I mean, number one, we want to feel valued. We want to feel trusted. We want to be given control and autonomy over our job. That's what a lot of people want. Many people want flexible working, not all, but many people want flexible working. We want to have a boss that's kind, supportive, considerate, who understands us. I think that's what we want in life generally. Now, has the pandemic affected that? Yes, it certainly has, because pre-pandemic, people did want flexible working, for example. The people who could, I mean, if you're a doctor or a nurse or a bus driver or a pilot, you can't. You have to be at the coalface. But we're a service-based economy, and many people, probably the majority of people, can work much more flexibly. But there was a reticence to take up flexible working, not by women who felt it might adversely affect my career, but I better do it because I have childcare and I have elder care responsibilities. Men, on the other hand, felt, this is what the science showed, men were reluctant to take it because they thought it would adversely disadvantage their careers. And that's why they didn't take it. But the bulk of people prior to this nightmare actually wanted to work flexibly. And so what has this done? This is, number one, showed it can work, even with homeschooling and all the things, the obstacles we won't have in the future when we get out of the pandemic. So for me, it's meant for employers, they see it can work. For employers as well, by the way, they want to downsize their estates. Therefore, they know there's going to be a hybrid model coming. That's what they want. In fact, probably quite a lot of them want people to work 100% remotely. But people can't do that. They need the office to some extent. They just need a hybrid model where they can work substantially from home, but from time to time go into an office to team build, to develop new products and services, to meet their colleagues.
Okay, thank you. And okay, so you've talked a bit about the change, what people want, what they need, and how that might have changed from the pandemic. How do you create a really good working culture?
Well, here's the thing that I think we also learned from the pandemic. And we were talking about it prior to the pandemic, at least 10 or 15 years prior, that one of the reasons well-being, there's an obstacle to well-being in organizations, we don't have the right kind of line managers. We have line managers are recruited and promoted based on their technical skills, not their people skills. When you have some people in an office, which we're going to have, like maybe younger people will probably return to the office full time. The bulk of people will be working in different places, but primarily from their home, but coming in from work from time to time. When the leading cause of sickness absence is stress, anxiety, and depression, 57% of all sickness absence, long-term sickness absence, the year before COVID, the COVID period, was for stress at work. When you have all of those things, you now know definitely we need a more EQ'd line manager from shop floor to top floor, one with emotional intelligence, social interpersonal skills. That's the big inhibitor. That's our big challenge. So the future means when people get promoted or recruited, there better be parity between their people skills and their technical skills.
Okay, great. So line managers are a big part of this solution, having the support and the confidence to bring their teams along with them. Okay. And what do you, so other than the line manager piece, what is holding us back, both from an employee and employer perspective, Cary, from a better work-life harmony?
I think the only thing probably holding us back are particular line managers who can't cope with people working in different places. You know, they may have trouble. They want to have their troops there. So that's going to be a problem. How do we train those line managers to do this, to be able to team build and manage people who are working in different contexts? How do you do that? You know, there'll be a lot of young people in the office. There'll be other people who have kids and everything else and have elder care and then want to work substantial. How do you manage that whole process? So one of the things I think is not just the EQ of the line manager, but will they allow it? You know, companies have, for a long time, last 20 years, have had flexible working options for their employees, but the take-up hasn't particularly been great. And part of the take-up was they thought it would show non-commitment by taking a flexible working, but that's gone now because employers are going to want that because they will downsize their estates. Instead of having 4 offices in Glasgow, it'll drop down to 1. Or 4 floors, and that you'll have 1 floor and you can go in and meet people, but you don't need 3, 4, 5 floors anymore, a building indeed. So the employer is now kind of up for it, the employer, but it's about your line manager ultimately. Does that person allow it? Are they the kind of person that wants all their troops there? I think that's the big inhibitor from the organizational point of view. From the individual point of view, I don't think they're any longer fearful that taking up flexible working will adversely affect their career. I don't think they think that will be the case. However, there's one big however. It's called the recession. We're about to hit the biggest recession we've had in a lifetime. 2008 looked like a peanut factory. This is big time because of the cost, the deficits, and what's happened to so many sectors. So the other inhibitor might be individuals are feeling so job insecure that they may feel they have to be in the office for organizational politics purposes, if nothing else, but they need to show face time. So that's the worry.
Okay, thank you. And what practical advice, so we've got the support for line managers and the help and the training, but what other practical advice would you give today to employers seeking to embrace a more flexible well-being culture beyond COVID?
Okay, I think there are several things. I mean, one of them is, given we're going into recession, presenteeism is going to loom very large. People are going to want to show face time. By the way, even if they're working from home, they were doing it during the pandemic period. People were sending emails at night, at weekends, mainly to show, because I kind of felt guilty. Here I am exclusively from home, working remotely from home. They don't know I'm working. I have to show them I'm working. I'll send them an email at 8 o'clock at night. I'll be right on top of it. I'll do it at the weekends. So I think what we're going to have to look out for in people is, and particularly going into the recession that we're going into, they have to be careful. All managers have to be very aware of the potential of people trying to overcommit and show face time in one form or another. So if they're working from home, they can show it in a variety of different ways by doing emails all times of day, or going into the office and staying late. For our productivity, for our health, for our well-being, we need balance. We need to clock off at a particular point in time of the day. We can't just keep working 7/24. And therefore, I think that's the big issue for me. The recession that's coming will mean that people will want to show face time in one form or another, work long hours, burn themselves out, not invest in their kids as much. And let's hope that one good news that's come out of the pandemic is that, men have been at home more than they normally are. And I think that's been a good thing. They probably haven't homeschooled, as the ONS evidence showed, that it was the women. What else is new? Surprise, surprise, yesterday in the news when it said that women were doing most of the homeschooling, et cetera, trying to juggle their job as well. But men did link up with their kids a lot more. I certainly saw that and heard from fathers that they did. And I think that's good. So maybe work-life balance needs not to be a female thing, but a couple thing.
Okay, great stuff. And I'm going to throw in one final question for you to end on. With all the research that you've done over the years, Cary, where in the world, or what countries or places really, stand out in terms of offering their people a really good work-life harmony?
Well, I think there are countries that are really good, that really impress me. New Zealand, the Scandinavian countries, of course. I mean, look at Norway passed a law that the boards of companies has to have 40%, minimum of 40% women on the boards, right? They went hell for leather, where we said, let's set a target of 25% and let's hope we can reach it. And no, I think, pretty bold stuff. If you look at the pandemic, for example, the countries that did the best and managed it the best were headed by women. So that's quite interesting phenomenon. And I think you'll see, because women, I think, have always kind of played the role in the family, looking after the family. And then they take that into the workplace. That's very useful. We need people who, really action what we often hear from HR. The most valuable resource we have is our human resource, but rarely act on it. So now we're acting on it. And I think there's a range of countries, a range of companies who are controlling emails so people are not, their family life isn't disrupted all the time. They're getting the right kind of line managers in place. They're trying to get rid of the long working hours culture. They're letting people work flexibly. Those are the kinds of organizations you want to go work for. And why organizations will do it is because they want to attract the millennials, and millennials want all of those four. They don't get it, they're gone. They're called snowflakes, but they're the smart ones.
Cary Cooper, as ever, thank you so much for being with us today. Your insight's been really appreciated.
Thank you.
As always, Cary shares big picture thinking around well-being, as well as some super practical takeaways, which is the importance of line managers to support and lead flexible teams. Thank you so much, Sir Cary. Now, before we get on to announcing our winners, we have some short messages from our lovely sponsors. We're incredibly grateful that even in these difficult times, we've received sponsorship and support from these great organisations who are not only supportive of Flexibility Works, but more importantly, supportive of creating a flexible working Scotland.
Now we turn our attention to a group of employers who have really helped to make today's event possible. From the Flexibility Works team, a huge thank you to all of our sponsors, a group of employers who are in their own way helping to shape the flexible work agenda in Scotland and have demonstrated that commitment by aligning themselves with our awards.
At Deloitte, everyone works flexibly, and we really see the difference this makes both to our people and to our business. By supporting the Flexibility Works Employers Awards, we want to shine a spotlight on Scotland's most flexible employers and applaud them for leading the way.
On behalf of everyone here at City Building, I'd like to wish all the nominees the very best of luck in today's awards. City Building felt it was really important to sponsor these awards because we're acutely aware of all the fantastic work that's been carried out by employers throughout Scotland, especially the nominees. So once again, the very best of luck to each and every one of you.
At ILF Scotland, we have been huge supporters of flexible working since day one. The Flexibility Works Employer Awards are an opportunity to celebrate all the great flexible employers out there who are making work-life balance a priority.
Here at Pursuit Marketing, flexibility is in our DNA. We enjoy the opportunities that flexible working creates for our people and for our business. Pursuit is delighted to support the Flexibility Works Employer Awards and really hope it encourages other companies to consider the difference and benefits flexible working can bring to their people and to their growing businesses.
We believe that flexibility in the workplace is very important. It helps us deliver the best service to our clients and the best environment for our employees to work in. That is why we are happy to support the Flexibility Works Employers Awards and help to spread the word about flexible working.
At Skills Development Scotland, we've been encouraged and inspired by the way that employers have stepped up to offer greater flexibility through these challenging times. We wanted to support the search for Scotland's top 10 flexible employers because we know that with flexibility, we can be a nation of healthier, happier working people. We wish the best of luck to all of this year's Inspiring Awards finalists.
Good afternoon, Nikki, Lisa, Geraldine and all of the team at Flexibility Works. Shoesmiths are delighted to continue to work with you as a sponsor, and we want to say a special congratulations, of course, to all of this afternoon's nominees for all of the hard work they've done in putting wellbeing and flexible working at the heart of what they do.
At CIPD Scotland, we're delighted to support the Flexibility Works Awards this year, particularly to celebrate those employers who have gone that extra mile throughout the pandemic to ensure people have the flexibility they've needed through these challenging times.
Oh, lovely messages, and thanks again to our sponsors who helped us to make Scotland's top 10 flexible employers happen. Okay, so now things are getting exciting. As we said, we were really taken aback by the quality of entries received. It genuinely was a really tough job for our judges to select their top 10. Such powerful competition has of course made it really hard for many of the great organisations that entered to make it onto the list. And there were a number of organisations which you could say were pipped at the post, but which really stood out to the team here at Flexibility Works. There were also a few organisations that we felt were new on their flexible working journey, but demonstrating real commitment and creativity to making their workplaces more flexible. The team here felt so strongly that a number of these organisations deserve to be recognised. So before we get on to announcing Scotland's top 10 flexible employers, we have a wee surprise and we'll be recognising two small groups of organisations. Firstly, there will be the Flexibility Works, 5 highly commended employers, and organisations who are more established in their flexible working journey. And we also have the Flexibility Works 5 ones to watch, employers that we felt are making great strides along what is perhaps an earlier part of their flexible working journey. And here they are.
Huge congratulations to all of our highly commended employers and our ones to watch. So the time has now come to announce Scotland's top 10 flexible employers 2020. Judges compared organisations of a similar size against each other and selected 3 employers from each of our small, medium and large categories, with an additional one being selected which happened to come from the small category, perhaps reflective of our vibrant SME sector here in Scotland. Good luck to all our entrants. Okay, so here goes. We will be announcing the top 10 in alphabetical order. First up is Cairngorms National Park. Judges particularly liked the approach taken by Cairngorms National Park, with flexible working being co-designed between management and employees. This public sector organisation seems to really listen to its people, and Flex is by no means only for existing staff. Flexible working is also embedded into the recruitment process, where part-time and job share options are discussed. 1/3 of employees work part-time, absence rates are low, and there was a big focus on well-being during the pandemic. This is a great all-round flexible employer.
So our next top 10 employer is Copylab. This small organisation, headquartered in Glasgow, produces financial copy for the professional services sector globally. Judges really like the vision of this organisation to use flexible working in order to attract and retain talent and to basically keep their people healthy. The organisation demonstrated lots of great metrics showing the positive impacts flexible working has on their people and their business. Copylab communicates a lot about flexible working at recruitment, at one-to-ones, team meetings and on blogs, and they tell their clients they're proud of it. They've got a very high client and employee retention rate and very low absence rates. Judges felt that flexible working was truly part of the company culture at Copylab from the top down.
And our next employer to be announced is Flexible Childcare Services Scotland. This was a standout entry for judges. Flexible Childcare Services Scotland is a provider of childcare services with a difference, as their business model is all around providing flexible childcare which better meets the needs of families. This is a really tough sector for flexible working, but a high proportion of staff work flexibly, completely bucking the trend for the sector. Judges noted that flexibility for their own employees clearly aligns to the purpose of the organisation and were impressed with the results of a flexible approach, including high employee engagement.
The next of Scotland's top 10 flexible employers is Hymans Robertson. Flexible working is a day one right at Hymans Robertson, and a high percentage of people have formal flexible working in place. They also really encourage part-time and non-standard working practices across all areas of the business. They understand that not everybody wants a formal contractual change to their working pattern, so they actively support the use of agile working with flexible start and finish times and the ability to work from locations other than the office. This ensures that everybody can balance their working life and their personal lives. And that's fundamentally part of the business philosophy, which they have at Hymans Robertson, as well as various wellbeing and employee initiatives on offer. and that's what made it a standout for judges.
We are pleased to announce that our next top 10 employer is IDco. The fintech company with proud roots in Scotland was formed in 2011. Judges were inspired to learn how flexible working wasn't just viewed as something that was good for its people. This organisation demonstrated how flexible working had helped them to achieve a competitive advantage by helping them retain talent, especially new parents, and also helped them to recruit new talent. When productivity went up as a result of flexible working, everyone was offered an extra half-day holiday every month. Judges liked the creative and forward-thinking approach at all levels of the organisation to find flexibility in all roles, including those that traditionally would not have been done flexibly.
The next of Scotland's top 10 flexible employers is Podfather. Based in Edinburgh, Podfather is an SME which provides electronic proof of delivery and delivery management software, and they have over 30,000 users. Podfathers make it clear that flexible working is for all, and they've had a really big push on flex for the past few years. They've got a really good understanding that flexible working is beneficial for their people and their business. Judges really liked how they've kept adapting over time to enhance the type of flexibility on offer in line with their employees' needs. Pre-COVID, a really big percentage of the company already worked remotely, and a large percentage worked part-time. The well-being of their people is key, and the company really prides itself on listening to its employees as they continue to evolve their flexible offering for the future.
The next of our top 10 flexible employers is Scottish Water. Judges were impressed with Scottish Water's embedded approach to flexibility across the organisation and across a variety of roles. Judges felt that this was an all-round, strong, flexible employer and made particular mention of the buy-in from the CEO of the organisation, their continued innovation and the vast array of employee-led networks, the value they placed on using flex to reduce their carbon footprint, and they really liked how their customers benefited as a result of employee flexibility.
We're pleased to announce that our next top 10 employer is Scout Scotland. Scout Scotland is a small third sector organisation, and judges were impressed with the extensive range of flexibility that they proactively offered. And we're pleased to learn that 100% of Scout Scotland employees work flexibly. Judges liked that the organisation provided holiday clubs and school holiday care for employees who have children. Judges admired the tenacity of this organisation to transform, moving from a timesheet culture to outcomes focused. They also noted that flexibility was not only good for their business and their people, but also their volunteers and their members.
The next of Scotland's top 10 flexible employers is Warmworks. This is a medium-sized organisation based in Edinburgh, which manages applications to the Warmer Homes Scotland scheme. Judges noted that flexibility was clearly being driven from the top, with strong leadership. They were impressed by the metrics shared, which clearly showed the positive impact of flexibility on their people and their business. Judges also liked the range of over and above initiatives being offered by this organisation, including support for financial well-being and mental health. Judges commented on the open-minded and creative approach, the ability to think differently about different situations in order to embed flex.
And now to announce the final top 10 employer for flexible working, West Dunbartonshire Council. Judges had a lot of positive comments about this public sector employer, given the extremely high number of people working flexibly across the organisation. Flexibility is a day one right for people at West Dunbartonshire Council, and the organisation really promote flexibility in order to recruit. Alongside an approach of flexibility for all, there is a real focus on the needs of different workers, including carers and new mums. Judges also really liked the common sense approach of using pilots to try out new flexible working initiatives, which have resulted in securing long-term buy-in.
So there we have it, Scotland's top 10 flexible employers. A huge congratulations to you all. Thank you for showing us the art of the possible and for leading the way in flexible working. We have one very special award to make before we call it a wrap, and this award is being made by one of our event sponsors, CIPD. It is an award for an organisation that judges believed to be outstanding during the pandemic in terms of supporting their people. And this award goes to Warmworks. With arrangements already in place, all office-based employees were enabled to work from home immediately, with very little interruption to customer service. Managers knew their teams, which helped to ensure that everyone was supported to adapt to these sudden and significant changes. There was already mutual trust between managers and their teams, and if anything, this has grown. The Managing Director personally conducted regular online all-staff briefings and Q&A sessions, offering genuine support and inspiration. Wellbeing at Warmworks was launched in May 2020, giving staff a range of great services and online social activities and fundraising challenges. Warmworks told us quite simply, our people, our values and our way of doing business are at the forefront of our minds when challenging times arise and decisions need to be made. Congratulations to Warmworks for being an outstanding employer. And again, massive well done to our top 10 flexible employers, to our highly commended and ones to watch too.
Now finally, you'll have probably noticed that our media partner for these awards is the Times Scotland. And just before we call it a wrap, Magnus Llewellyn, who's the editor for the Times Scotland, has a short message.
Hi, I'm Magnus Llewellyn. I'm editor of the Times in Scotland, and we're delighted to be the media partner for these Flexibility Works Employer Awards. Congratulations to the wide range of outfits that made it to the top 10 today. Getting this far is recognition of your determination to nurture a flexible culture within your organisations. Whether we like it or not, flexible working will become the new normal for most businesses, and we at the Times are enthusiastic supporters of the agenda being celebrated here today. If there's one thing this pandemic has shown us, it's that spending your day at home on a laptop does not necessarily constitute flexible working. Quite often, as many of us know, it can be the polar opposite. More than 12 months on, we still have a huge amount to learn, and that is why we are so happy at the Times to be giving our support to these great awards. The full list of Scotland's top 10 flexible employers will be published in the Times Scotland tomorrow. Don't miss it.
Thank you so much, Magnus, and thanks to the Times Scotland for sponsoring the awards. And that's us at the end of our event today. Thank you all so much for joining us, and another final huge congratulations to all of our entrants and all of our winners today.
And from me, just another reminder that Flexibility Works is here to help you. If you would like to have a conversation with us or contact us about your flexible working journey, please do give us a phone or an email and we're happy to help. Thank you again so much and take care.